You can't be serious, Jim. Charisse chokes back, visibly shaken to my intention. Wouldn't have asked if I wasn't. How do I get to them? I pressed. Jim, for the love of Christ, please don't go seeking them. The only regard for human life that they have is for self-preservation. They would have no problem taking you out. Charisse started to shake, then there was a tremble to her voice. I'd never seen her that distraught. How do you know? I know you all think I'm stupid just because I don't know much about entities, but you all seem to forget that life is much more than just the paranormal. No, that's not what I mean. Charisse is choking back tears now. Jim, you're a Cerber employee. They have records of this. Not because of a particular focus, just in general. Do you remember the application process? Vaguely. I think I know where this is going. You wouldn't have gotten the job if you had a wife and kids. Hell, even a wife. You not only have no kin, you also aren't procreating. That makes you the most expendable of humans to deplague. You're worthless to them, a snack at best. Cerber doesn't protect you. It only gives them more information on specific humans. Yeah, Atlan doesn't want to lose employees, but do you really think you're irreplaceable? All right, take it easy, Charisse. I rest my hands on her shoulders. Jim, please just don't, okay? Please don't. Charisse sobs in her seat. Look, I don't mean to be a dick, but why do you care what happens to me? Because, contrary to what you think, you're cared for. By many. Yeah, we're hard on you, but sometimes it feels like a necessity. You're brave, but you're really irrational. Please don't prove me right, not with the plague. Okay, I won't snoop. So it's not Lamashtu that's had you riled up. It was the plague. I ask and answer in the same sentence. Yeah. What happened, Charisse? I promise I won't react. I meant that. Hearing that people give a shit makes it hard to gamble mortality. I saw them. I saw what they can do. Charisse says in a hushed tone. It wasn't from fear, but from remorse. What did you see? I saw them take out Legion. Legion of what? Legion. The Legion. An accumulation of demons in one human body. Dukes of Hell. More than just your average possession. Legion is a wicked storm of white-hot malice. I watched a single antimatter, a shadow person. Fuck, it was so bad. I gave Charisse a minute to break down again. I couldn't let this go, though, and part of me believes Charisse needs to purge this. She's tough as nails, but even the baddest bitches need closure. Tell me, I whisper, trying to remove any tension. I sounded creepy. I know I sounded creepy because my face squeezed itself into a wince cringe. It played with its food. She was nearly hyperventilating. What do you mean? The antimatter ripped Legion from the human. The human couldn't be saved. She looked like a deflated balloon. Christ, she was just a pile of skin, like an empty baggage on the floor. She was a person, a complex individual with hobbies and ambitions. Wasted. Did you know her? She was my wife, Jim. Jesus. I knew she always had an edge to her, but this is always heavier than I could have imagined. I don't feel guilty. I didn't know. I'm not going to keep assuming guilt out of ignorance, especially when these women have kept everything so lock and key. That doesn't change my sympathy for the situation. I feel for Charisse. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were married. If you want to stop talking about it, I understand. I kicked myself for saying that because I really wanted to know more. But I wasn't going to shove Charisse into a painful recount. No. You should really hear this. I know you want answers. I also know just how far you take things when you're hungry for information. I would rather cry over the past than cry over your casket. Damn, that was sweet, or whatever, but dark. She's not wrong. Okay, I'm listening. I start driving us from Alistair's home, back to her car in San Bruno.
Legion was extracted from Lana, my wife.
Cherise swallows and continues.
I saw something that I really shouldn't have. To this day, I've never felt more afraid than seeing what took over my wife. It was hideous and crude. From the torso down, it had a vaguely humanoid body, but it was all wrong. Like threads of flesh painfully stitched together in a quilt of skin and bone. It had 3 arms, 3 legs, and 6 heads. The heads, Jesus, those fucking heads.
Cherise started to shake again. I placed my hands on hers and squeezed.
One was the head of a spider, but the head was flesh-toned. All the heads were flesh-toned, with 2 large dark blue eyes, centered in the middle of 6 more tiny ones of similar color. Those weird fangs clicking together in rage. The second head was that of a condor, with a mouth full of human teeth, a feathered collar that was covered in webs and black liquid. The third head was of a snake with deer antlers for eyes. It protruded unnaturally like fungus colonizing a corpse, 3 or so feet above its head. The fourth was of an anglerfish, but it had human fingers for teeth, glowing red eyes, and a horn instead of the baiting light that most normal anglers have. The fifth was the head of a baby placed on the neck that was stretched like 6 feet long. Black holes for eyes and a webbed mouth. It was bleeding from the ears. I think it was bleeding, at least. The liquid was black, just like the stuff that coated the condor. The 6th one was the worst.
Cherise tried to keep herself from unhinging, controlling her breathing as best as she could. You're doing good, I replied genially, not sure if I said the appropriate thing. I hate seeing her so disheveled, but I don't want to stop her. I don't want her to think that I can't handle what she's saying. The content is disturbing, yes, but that's not what was scaring me. It's how scared Cherise was to even verbalize what she saw. I hated seeing her like this. Cherise fills a void left by my sister. Yeah, Cherise is my sister.
The 6th head.
Cherise wipes her cheeks and nose with her free hand and continues.
Was Lana. But it was Lana in a state of decomposition. Grey skin with blue patches, petrified fluids drained from all orifice of her face. Maggots writhing under her skin. Hair fallen from her scalp. That's the thing, though. That's why no one ever gets it right.
Gets what right?
The demons. No one ever guesses all of the demons properly. Priests can usually identify 3 or 4, some boast all 6, but it's a lie. The last demon is unknown because it's a manifestation of the vessel it inhabits, turning it into the absolute worst nightmare version of its own host. Some believe it's because the soul of the person was transformed into a demon. Some claim it's a myth entirely. It's not.
Cherise starts to slip from sad to catatonic. You can see her defensive mental cogs turning. That sounds awful, I say in a hushed gasp. The horrors this woman experienced. It's no wonder she doesn't let anyone in. Her own marriage, assuming it was healthy and a happy one, was ripped away from her. I wouldn't want to get close to anyone either. I've gone from annoyed with her to having a new understanding and appreciation for our friendship. I didn't realize just how hard she was trying to be patient with me and just how much I didn't know.
That wasn't the worst part,
Cherise continued, sniffling. Again, at your pace, dude, I reassure.
The antimatter that was conducting this horror manifesto. He liked to play with his food.
Cherise swallowed hard again, as if her throat was painfully dry.
He didn't actually move. He would blink. When he would blink, something would follow soon after.
Charisse was really struggling, experiencing an exorcism in her own right.
Blink. One of the heads, he started with Lana's, would tear off so slowly, like an invisible hand was slowly ripping a piece open. Blink. The head shot off from the last fringe of flesh fiber and shoved its way down the throat of the baby head. Blink. The baby neck wrapped itself around the rest of the heads, causing them to bite and tear through their spines. Blink. The heads hit the floor in rapid succession. All movement stopped, aside from the pool of black liquid that increased beneath the mess.
Charisse choked out every word laboriously.
It had a name, you know. Mateo. I asked who the fuck he was, and he said Mateo without even looking at me. This monster humanized himself.
Charisse is suppressing obvious rage.
Mateo dropped down on all fours and opened his mouth like a basking shark and started crunching on the remains. You think it's a slow, swallowing motion, but it wasn't. He was enjoying his food, taking his time to devour, lapping up the black liquid like a dog licking its bowl clean. He didn't even leave me anything of Lana to bury. Son of a bitch took the last bit of sanctity I had left, which was to properly mourn and bury my wife. Then he just disappeared.
Charisse looked down into her lap and squeezed my hand.
Jim, I know you want vengeance. However, I had vengeance in a twisted way, and I'm still hurting. 20 years later, and I still have horrible nightmares of that night. The very thing that took the love of my life was ripped to shreds in front of me. It brought no light of comfort. I didn't even learn what Mateo was until a couple of years ago when I began working for Cerber. My point is, the world is cruel and it's fucked. No matter how natural it is, accountability does little for the situation. You need to heal in your own way, and I respect that, but you're obsessing. That obsession can lead to your death, which would cause pain to the people around you.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm grateful that you told me this, though. If it's any consolation, your story did not fall on deaf ears. However, I start, Charisse unflinching. If I happen upon one of these antimatters by chance, I can't promise I won't be advantageous.
Okay, deal. Thank you for understanding, Jim. I love you dearly, and it would be painful to lose you.
So convinced that I'm just this defenseless creature, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I love you too, Charisse. I'll be more considerate. We pull up to her car and Charisse starts to get out of the vehicle. She stops and says,
Thanks for letting me unpack that. I've only told that story twice, including just now. It gets easier every time I talk about it. I think I'm going to go seek therapy. You're a real one, Jim.
She gives me a big hug. One of those chicken soup for the soul type embraces. I have a family now. I really feel it this time. My sister's dead and gone. I got a semblance of closure when I saw her ghost. That's more than Charisse can ever hope for, and I'd be a damn fool to chance that. Many people would kill to have this sort of chance to rebirth themselves and rebuild with this sort of dynamic. I've been foolish. I've been selfish, and I've been wholly unaware of the individuals who've laid new foundations with me. I think I need therapy too. Maybe Cerber offers something like that. I turn on my request and remain parked. I wave Charisse off as she exits to El Camino. I keep toying with my inner thoughts about therapy and a plague when I get a notification from a request. Moloch. The request came from Livermore Lab. As you know by now, I'm not very fond of this lab in particular. I reluctantly accepted the ride and made the 50-minute venture to the valley. During this time, I pondered if the government was aware that they were working with the paranormal, or if they had no idea and assumed these entities were just people. It would be foolish to assume either answer, since underestimating government knowledge and ability has never boded well for me. Since I had some time until I arrived in Livermore, I decided to call Adeline and unpack my thoughts. Listening to Charisse tell her story answered some questions and bloomed new ones as well.
Hi, Jim.
Adeline answered in her obnoxious, sugary tone. Hey, I just talked to Charisse about her experience with the plague, and I have some questions.
Sure, I'll do the best that I can to answer your questions. Honest.
Charisse said she had a run-in with one of those shadow people named Mateo. Adeline swallowed hard and managed to fumble a...
Uh-huh?
You know him? This wasn't my initial question, but her answer was very weird and it worried me. Two of my girls are terrified of one entity, and they're not weak women. I wasn't nervous or scared. I was mad that two people I cared about were frightened. All while I was on the phone, I could feel something heavy. Someone was watching me, in my car. Every time I tried to glance quickly to catch whatever was staring at me, I was met with nothing. Absolutely nothing. I quit questioning my sanity long ago, but I was just all around becoming furious. Something wasn't right. It was like I entered a different plane of existence, one that was just ever so slightly different. Kind of like finding your keys in a place you never put them, like a different table, and that's just enough to make you pause.
Yeah, I know Mateo.
Adeline answered with a slight tremble in her voice. Okay, well, first question, why Mateo?
What do you mean?
Adeline continues. She maintains an excellent amount of composure. Adeline is intolerably kind, and she has such a flat, weird cadence to her voice during this call. It was like someone had a gun to her head, and she had to be careful with her words. Very fucking weird for Adeline. Why is his name Mateo? Correct me if I'm wrong, but Mateo is an old Latin-based name, predating centuries. Paveglia is in Italy. Wouldn't it be safe to assume that they were simply born in Italy?
I see your point, Jim. While I'm very impressed, it's much more sinister than that. These are just names they chose for themselves by learning from the people around them. It makes them more relatable when they have names.
Ah, gotcha. Adeline, are you alright? I asked with true sincerity.
Yes, I just really dislike Mateo.
So fire him, trying to arm her with support.
I can't. He leads the charge.
Adeline continues to offer information without me asking, and I have to admit, it's a relief.
Mateo only gets involved with the nastiest cases. No one has ever really stated a role of power to him, but his record speaks on his behalf. Legion, the demon both Mateo and Charisse dealt with, is exceptionally high rank as a demon. If Mateo is around, run. He is most considerate of human preservation, but his methods are cruel.
Adeline finishes with a whisper. Okay, so how many are there?
7.
That's all?
Don't let that give you confidence, Jim. These antimatter beings don't sleep. All they do is hunt and eat. They don't mess anything up either. Some hunts take minutes, some take decades. But once they have their prey in front of them, it's over. They don't lose.
She says quietly, but firmly. Thanks, Adeline. I just feel so... Then the line died. What the fuck? I've never lost service on the highways. I look at my phone and sure enough, it's lost all signal, but it's still managing to broadcast my location to my will-be passenger. My phone isn't really that old, but it is an Apple device, so... I plugged my phone into my stereo with a pre-downloaded playlist, just so I didn't have to drive in silence. With the licks of Lee McKinney's guitar solos playing quietly in my car, I become very aware that I'm definitely not alone. Normally I can see headlights in my rearview mirror, glinting behind me. However, it was entirely black. There wasn't even the shine of glass to glare off the surface. It's as if someone broke the mirror out and painted the stand vanta black. I looked behind me calmly, and... nothing again. Not a fucking thing behind me in my back seat. I can see the headlights of other cars driving behind and around me. The only thing amiss was my mirror. Strange, but I kept quiet. I pulled up to a roundabout on the side of the front entrance of the lab. It's commonly used for buses and drop-offs. No one's there and the lights are off at the station. I can see one national security guard in front of the entrance, but he pays no attention to me. Turning right, my headlights go out, without me turning them off. I immediately stop my vehicle, startled by the sudden darkness, bathing the inside of my vehicle and around the outside. All my indicators are still lit, only the headlights are on. I hear my car door open and close, causing me to yelp in surprise. You know, 'cause I'm tough. "Drive," I hear a gravelly voice bark from my back seat. "Moloch?" I ask. "Shut the fuck up and drive, now." I look behind me and see a man's body, mounted with a giant cow head on top. On his head was a tarnished silver crown, crested with various colored jewels. Half of the cow head was infested with some sort of flesh-eating mucus, causing one of his eyes to be dead white, the other to be auburn brown. "Is there a fucking problem? Are you inept? Drive or we're going to have a problem." "Alright, take it easy," I say with super false confidence. "Drive!" he yells. I check the route, put the car into gear and set off to Moffett Field, a known military airport between Sunnyvale and Mountain View. Shit, military, laboratory, this feels high profile. I drive much faster than normal, almost hoping a cop was bored enough to pull me over. I get up on the 84 South when I start to feel a little resistance in my steering wheel. And not enough to cause the car to lose control, but as if something is steering with me. I look back at Moloch and realize he's not really present, as in he's sort of in his own head, so I didn't have any reason to believe he was using mind tricks or whatever. I look at the wheel, and just on a pure hunch, I slowly let go. The car doesn't even do so much as veer. It's like someone else is steering with me. I furrow my brow in confusion, when I feel the brake pedal go out from under my feet as the wheels turn left. The car pulls into a driveway of a heavily dilapidated house, and the engine dies. "You better have a stellar fucking reason for pulling over," Moloch taunts, holding something cold and sharp to my throat. Instead of freaking out, I remain quiet and slowly raise my hands. "Explain yourself, human. You won't be missed if I decide to open up your fucking jugular right here. Drive!" Moloch tightens the blade against my throat, and I still remain absolutely silent. Something is at work here. I can feel it. Knowing this, I decided to keep entirely calm and wait for something to happen. The worst that happens is I bleed out and die. I mean, it's not the greatest option, but I can think of far worse. I hear Moloch wail from behind me, feeling something warm and wet hit the back of my neck. I cringe, too afraid to move, slamming my eyes shut. "What the fuck was that?" Moloch wails again, and I can hear fluid hitting my windows. I turn slowly, terrified of what I might see. Moloch was covered in blood, pus, and dark chunks. It's as if the blood was already coagulated before it left his body. There was a hunting knife lodged into the socket that once housed his milky eye. Moloch tried to yank the blade out, shaking with how much effort he was making to remove it. To no avail. It was as if the knife had an anchor attached to the end of it, holding itself in place. My gaze shifts to a black figure, void of all definition aside from two glowing vermilion dots on its head, sitting in the row of seats behind Moloch. Blink. The hunting knife flies out of Moloch's head and hovers over the other eye, vibrating, causing Moloch to whimper and beg to be let go. Blink. The knife plunged itself into the other eye, deep enough to cause immense pain and bleeding, but not enough to actually penetrate the brain. Moloch was being tortured right in front of me. Blink. The knife draws back again, aiming at Moloch's shoulder. I couldn't take it anymore. "Fucking stop!" I had tears involuntarily streaming down my face. "Please, for the love of God, stop!" The blackened head shifts in my direction, not showing any kind of emotion, just letting me know he's looking right at me. Blink. The blade starts at the top of Moloch's left shoulder, slicing its way at an angle. Slowly. This thing is still looking right into my eyes as the attention darts between Moloch and the figure. Blink. The knife penetrates the other shoulder, coming down to meet the previous exit point of the last cut made, making a giant V on Moloch's chest. Blink. The knife continues from the point and drags a long line all the way down Moloch's pelvis. The Y shape bursts open, Moloch's internal organs spilling out into his lap and onto his feet. Moloch stops moving. He stops the horrifying wails of agony, leaving the vehicle with only sounds of dripping and my sobs. Blink. I black out. I have no idea how long I was out for, but when I finally awake, I scramble to look behind me to see nothing. No Moloch, no knife, no figure, not even a drop of fucking blood remained in the back seat. I started to shake violently and check my face all over for any sort of trace left behind by the massacre that happened in my back seat. I happened to look beside me and see the figure never left. It was in my front passenger seat, looking right at me. My heart leapt into my throat, choking back whatever sound my body was trying to make. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Blink. A sense of calm washed over me, as if a nail was removed directly from my voice box, allowing me to finally speak up. Who are you? Mateo. It whispered, unmoving. No way, no fucking way. Why? I choke. He's the demon of plague and sickness, a duke of pandemic. You're welcome. Mateo utters, reminding me that he did just do me a huge favor of not only saving my life in that moment, but also for thousands of others. Did you have to be so fucking callous? I yell. No. Mateo replies, unblinking. This isn't going to end the fucking flu, you know. People are still going to get sick, people are still going to fucking die. I scream, losing my calm edge that was obviously forced upon me in the first place. I know. But it won't be because of Moloch. That makes it just. Doesn't make you any less of a monster. Yes, it does. You flayed him like a cow. I started to chuckle. And then I started laughing in a fit of pure mania. This was too much. It felt like my mind was being cooked, boiled from the inside. I don't know if I can do this anymore. I can't handle any of this anymore. I get that this is all natural, but that level of brutality was uncalled for. And I couldn't bear to witness that again. I would be lucky to walk away with my sanity at this point. Blink. I felt forced to stay quiet, another wave of calm coming over me. I may dislike not having control of my body, but this was definitely a more tolerable method of such an occasion. You've been hearing a lot about me. The things you hear are true. I don't know what constitutes you to have such permission on this information, but I have no reason not to trust Adeline. Yes, my methods are cruel. They are entirely unnecessary in part. I do them to maintain a balance, a healthy fear among this very confidential community that I may visit and prey upon them. Them being the unusual. Nothing I do is without purpose, and despite your discomfort, you will have no choice but to agree with me. You're not so special that you can change my centuries-long history, nor my centuries to come. It's gracious of me to even speak to you about this, and despite my abhorrent nature, just remember that I am always on your side. I can feel the invisible hand clasping my mouth disappear. Not for the right reasons. You only give a shit because you want to make sure there's enough of us to feed you when the entities don't exist anymore. That won't happen in your
like you, willfully.
Matteo replies, not moving his head away from me. There's only 7 of you, right?
Yes.
Was there always only 7? Matteo goes quiet, unblinking and unmoving. Can you, make babies? I know there's a more adult way to say that, but give me a break.
No.
How many were there before there was just the 7 of you? I ask again. Nothing. Why won't you answer that question? I childishly point a finger in his direction.
I'm using my right of omission.
Right of omission?
Yes. I cannot lie, but I can omit. Humans have a similar situation of exercising their Miranda rights. I choose to do the same, so to speak.
Or lack thereof.
I can only promise you honest answers to questions that I want to answer. Even that thread of information is something I don't particularly care for humans to know. Not even entities.
Whoops. Hopefully he doesn't frequent Reddit. So you can't tell a lie, ever?
No. Maintaining balance means honesty. Even if I wanted to lie, I can't.
What happens if you try to lie? Nothing. We sat staring at each other for a moment, my hand over my mouth in thought. You're not going to kill me, right?
No.
Why not? I ask, feeling like I'm pushing my luck.
Why would I?
I don't know, probably because I saw some shit. I threw my hands up with a tinge of anxiety to my tone.
No one is going to believe you. I would appreciate it if you kept this between us, but I'm not terribly concerned.
Oh, I reply, feeling a little cornered. You cost me a ride, you know? I owe money, and if this guy was dangerous as you say he was, then you cost me a couple racks.
Are you saying you would rather make a few $1,000s than save thousands of people?
Oh, stop, you can't blame me for being unhappy. You just murked some demon in my car, and while I appreciate the no-mess job you did, I'm allowed to be pissed about walking away with trauma and not $1 gained.
Here,
Matteo hands me $1. Cheeky.
I want to give you something else.
Matteo hands me a purple button attached to a small black box, looking an awful lot like a detonator.
If you come across something you've deemed necessary for my presence, push that button. You've seen my methods and the way I hunt. I trust you'll think that out carefully. I wouldn't waste that on Wade.
A lump forms in my throat. I wouldn't know who else to use it on, but I believe him. This seems like too important of a tool to use on a petty skinwalker. Alright, thanks, I guess. Thank you, but also fuck you. Matteo coos, probably the closest thing I'll get to a laugh from him. What now?
Go home. Send out another signal. Do as you please. I'm finished here. Good night, James.
Blink. Nothing. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. And if you're an animal lover like me, please consider donating to the World Land Trust, a charity that aims to help wildlife through buying land, preventing development, and helping endangered species.